You're tuned to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. My co-host Jeannie Roller and I are talking about healthcare issues. We started this because of things that happened to us that we couldn't believe, and we trusted the medical arena, the medical industry, to treat us with respect and with also trust on our end. And we found that that wasn't the case in our particular instances, and it had snowballed from that as well in meeting other people that has happened to, and I'm talking about thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. We haven't met hundreds of thousands of people, but we're both on other platforms where we do interact with these people, and we are just aghast that you cannot trust, or you seemingly cannot trust, some of the things that are going on in the healthcare industry. And this also is information that's coming from doctors. I know my one doctor told me the other day, and I'm not mentioning any names because we've done that too, and sometimes that doesn't work out real well for us, that she knows, about the corruption and this and that. And she's a decent doctor working with a lot of decent doctors, and I feel sorry for them, Jeannie, I do, because they're trying to navigate this same system that we are, trying to give patients good care. And some days it's really difficult for them too, trying to stay in the ethical parameters that they want to stay in, is what I'll say. So this one you sent to me, Jeannie. And if people want more information, because we don't have that long of a time too on these podcasts, you can go to the website iahssf.org, and then it's /research/preventing patient abuse, why abuse happens and how to stop it. You can Google that and get that website, or go on and get the website. And one thing that I never brought into these parameters, Jeannie, was the intentional and unintentional patient neglect that this article talks about can be further categorized under two aspects of patient neglect. And I'm reading some of this verbatim right off the page. Procedure neglect and caring neglect. So I never really put it in different categories like that. And it goes on to say that the staff may commit procedure neglect as a result of system errors or due to lack of care for the patient. So we talked about that before we went on air, Jeannie, and the system errors that, in my personal opinion and in my case, was the hospital itself that really didn't train its own techs. So I've blame the techs. In my PTSD horror of all of this, I blame the techs. And when you get down to some of this, they're really not trained. They're hiring people basically off the street to fill a void, to fill a slot in their system. And a lot of the training, I mean, how do you expect people to have the wherewithal to do this stuff when you actually haven't even trained them? And some of the training systems, you're looking at techs that are trained over a weekend. You're looking at CNAs that are trained in less than a month. You're looking at, I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, how is this possible? We're just filling a system. I mean, we're just filling a job category. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on this, Jeannie? We said we can do a couple of shows on this because it's just so involved. And this actual article, and then I'll let you have your say, is based on a lot of things that are happening in the Canadian healthcare system, not just the American healthcare system. And we talk about that too. This is nationwide. Not nationwide. This is worldwide. Sure, it's nationwide. I know that. What do you think, Jeannie? It's mind-boggling.
Well, it is, Cindy, and you're right. A lot of the mistreatment of patients occurs by people who aren't trained. That was in your case, in my husband's case, his mistreatment were by RNs who most likely had a 4-year college degree. So we blame the hospital system for that because they allow this type of behavior. We brought it to their attention. They denied it. So I think that there's a lot of both going on. I just, it just amazes me that for systems that are constantly advertising that patients are the center of the care, that they still allow this, that they don't get the people trained properly. They don't have the safeguards in place to make sure that this mistreatment of patients happens. But, this article was very interesting because it broke down the different types of patient abuse, verbal abuse. And a lot of people don't think that about verbal abuse, that, they can, use threatening language. They can harass you. They can humiliate you. They can coerce you. They can restrict you from social contact.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me a lot of COVID, when these patients were
Yeah.
separated from their loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Physical abuse, we recognize physical abuse a lot. Back in the old days, they used to use restraints on
Mm-hmm.
patients. Now they just use the sedation. But the most interesting part of this was the sexual abuse,
Yeah.
how they defined it.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have that one, or do you want me to read it?
I have some of it, but I want to interject one thing. When you said most likely the RNs in your husband's case had 4 years of training, 4 years of college education, I'm going to have to disagree, because we don't know that anymore in this day and age. I literally have talked with RNs here that are going to college, yes, a regular college, and they are literally being trained for 9 months. And that's an RN.
Well, I looked up their training.
Okay, so you looked up, okay, so that specific one. But I'm saying now in this day and age, it has gotten to that. So again, is it filling a void? Is this big box healthcare? Now we have an RN that's trained, quote unquote, in 9 months. I just don't see it happening. I mean, I've talked many times about a CNA course I took years ago that was totally stringent, unbelievable. That was 9 months. I don't see how you're going to learn all this other stuff. So the sexual part of this one, and it's unbelievable. Sexual abuse is any form of non-consensual sexual contact. It also includes, but it's not limited to, sexual assault or battery, such as rape, coerced nudity. So that's what we're talking. Right. That is. I'm so glad they put this in this, because that's what we're talking about. How many people have we interviewed on this that was the first thing they were done? Strip naked. Here's your procedure. Right. Let's everybody get naked. I mean, I didn't know that this was like part of every procedure that you go to. People are talking about the first thing is person stripped naked. I don't get that. I just do not get that. And also, for patients age 16 and older, it defines sexual abuse as any form of sexual contact, activity, or behavior that occurs between a patient or resident and a healthcare provider. And so what the other healthcare provider might not think that is sexual abuse, to that person it could possibly be. I don't get what are the parameters that we're using nowadays with the ethics and with the quality care of patients. You used to always be covered. You used to be just the part that needed to be exposed was exposed. It doesn't seem, in my case, I know that's what happened. It's just strip them all naked, throw them on the gurney, and that's it. Let's get them through the procedure.
Well, and I wanted to add one more thing that they defined as sexual abuse: sexually explicit photography.
Yeah,
now,
right.
Cindy, we've seen consent forms where it says there might be photos, but most patients don't read those forms in great depth. They just kind of skim and sign. Most patients will not be told that there is photography of them happening. So, this one is to me another big red flag, because you don't know where those photos will end up at. They can end up on that surgeon's personal cell phone, on that nurse's personal cell phone. Who knows what happens to them once they're on a personal device.
And also, I want to say too, is even if you do read that, you're not necessarily going to get some specific explanation. It's most of the time, it's from people that I've talked with, it's some kind of umbrella answer to get you to sign the paper.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why this information isn't being given to patients, because it's not. We hear it over and over again. And you're more often than not, we've got like 20 seconds left. You as the patient are more often than not challenged when you start asking these questions. I know I was in my situation, and mine was they're all serious. I shouldn't even say that it's a serious situation, but I mean, why are patients being challenged? Why can't you just answer the question for us? On that note, I want to say stay tuned to Evergreen Media.